When the Royal Mail ship Queen Elizabeth sailed up the Firth of Clyde near Greenock, Scotland, it marked the end of its journey across the Atlantic. It had been hot in New York and on the Queen when the 94th Infantry Division left its stateside port of Debarkation on the morning of 6 August 1944. The third day out on the Atlantic, the weather grew cooler, which somewhat alleviated the discomfort of the men sleeping in cramped quarters and in the gangways of the ship. This was definitely not the luxury crossing. In less than 6 days, land was sighted the morning of 11 August 1944. The Queen swung into the North Channel near Ireland, and the men had their first glimpse of what was a beautiful coastal countryside with tiny villages dotting the shoreline. Everything was trim, precise, and well ordered, with absolutely no sign of bomb damage whatsoever. There was nothing there indicating that war was going on. The morning of 12 August 1944, the troops of the 94th began debarking from the Queen Elizabeth. Full equipment was carried, and the Scottish climate was mild enough to make olive drabs only slightly uncomfortable. Debarkation was accomplished by means of lighters, which steamed alongside the Queen to receive troops from unloading ports located at approximately the deck level of the lighters. Looking up from the decks of the smaller vessels, a striking impression of the tremendous size of the Elizabeth was obtained. On shore at Greenock, the 94th was received by personnel of the transportation corps. Units were divided into groups for entrainment, and transportation corps personnel and military police supervised the loading. The whole affair was conducted in an orderly and efficient manner, with troops being disposed of as fast as they disembarked. The English railway coaches were a great novelty to the men, triggering much debate between them, while the American Red Cross appeared on the scene with hot coffee and doughnuts. Huge amounts were consumed, obviously. Debarkation was completed on 13 August, and the division moved to temporary stations in Wiltshire County in southern England. On the arrival of units at their destinations, they were met by members of the advance party who were on hand to act as guides and settle the troops in the billets that had been procured. This advance detachment had left the States on 2 July 1944 aboard the John Ericsson. Their crossing had taken 10 days in convoy. In spots, the weather had been bad, and they were happy to see the docks of Liverpool. From there, they moved by train to Stockton House, Codford, St. Mary, England, where they remained until the 20th of July. The advance detachment then travelled to Chippenham, where the process of drawing equipment for the division began. Arrangements were made also at this time for the billeting of the 94th upon its arrival. Division headquarters was established in Greenway Manor House at Chippenham, together with the special unit companies, the 94th Signal, 94th Quartermaster, 94th Ordnance, and the Reconnaissance Troop. The 301st Infantry and the Division Artillery, with all its battalions, were billeted in Trowbridge. The 302nd Infantry set up at Riddleton, the 376th at Pinckney Park and Shurston, while the 319th Medical Battalion and the 319th Engineers moved to billets at Bromham and Melksham, respectively. Special teams like an air support group, an order of battle team, civil affairs section, photo interpretation team, prisoner of war interrogation team, and a military intelligence interpretation group were attached to the division at this time as well. The area which the division occupied was surrounded by numerous airfields, and night and day the constant drone of planes going to and returning from the continent could be heard. Large formations of bombers, fighters, and troop carriers passing overhead brought the reality of war closer to the troops of the 94th. However, the men of the division found time for recreation and sightseeing. All of the local pubs were visited and acquaintances were made among the congenial English people. Bath, Bristol, and London were visited by many members of the 94th. Stonehenge, a work of the ancient Druids, was also visited by some of the division. In the larger British towns like London and Bristol, men saw for the first time the damage aerial bombardment can do. In London, some of the troops actually came under German fire, for V-1 rocket attacks were frequent. Nevertheless, many men were able to experience the sights and sounds of the English capital, even though a war was going on and they were destined to play their role in it.